So, today we're gonna go ahead with A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, the sequel to The Power of Now, apparently. So this is what I have read that it is. I can't actually verify that it is. Maybe also because I don't necessarily give a fuck, but anyway. Of course, we're gonna talk about rules today and probably also something different like stress, unhappiness, and happiness. Yeah, and that's probably gonna be it. We're probably not gonna go through much more. Anyway, roles. And now I'm having performance issues again, and I don't know why. So let's die. Close tabs to the right. I don't know why I've got so many issues with my PC lately. Maybe I have to reboot it once again because yeah, I don't care. And is it doing better? No, it's not. Roles. Of course, different people fulfill different functions in this world. It cannot be otherwise. As far as intellectual or physical abilities are concerned, knowledge, skills, talents, and energy levels, human beings differ widely. What really matters is not what function you fulfill in this world, but whether you identify with your function to such an extent that it takes you over and becomes a role that you play. When you play roles, you are unconscious. And then there is the universal role of adult. When you play that role, you take yourself and life very seriously. Spontaneity, lightheartedness, and joy are not part of that role. To do whatever is required of you in any situation without it becoming a role that you identify with is an essential lesson in the art of living that each of us is here to learn. Why does the ego play roles? Because of one unexamined assumption, one fundamental error, one unconscious thought. That thought is, I am not enough. Other unconscious thoughts follow. I need to play a role in order to get what I need to be fully myself. I need to get more so that I can be more. But you cannot be more than you are, because underneath your physical and psychological form, you are one with life itself, one with being. In form, you are and will always be inferior to some, superior to others. In essence, you are neither inferior nor superior to anyone when you are in form. In a world of role-playing personalities, those few people who don't project a mind-made image, and others are some even on TV, in the media and the business world, but function from the deeper core of their being. Those who do not attempt to appear more than they are, but are simply themselves, stand out as remarkable and are the only ones who truly make a difference in this world. They are the bringers of the new consciousness. Whatever they do becomes empowered because it is alignment with the purpose of the whole. Their influence, however, goes far beyond what they do, far beyond their function. Their mere presence, simple, natural, and assuming, has a transformation effect on whoever they come into contact with. So all those people that function from the deeper core of their being, those who do not attempt to appear more than they are, but are simply themselves, which I think really ties into what you think about from a day-to-day basis, meaning when one always thinks about other people and what they might think about one, what they might be saying about one, like this really catapults you into playing a role and into being a certain person, probably a person that is gonna look cool to those people, a certain person that is gonna be liked by those people because they like certain people. People like us do things like this, which is actually a pretty great quote. Definitely never quite used in this context, at least not me, by Seth Godin. Great author, great speaker, and just really great communicator. It is just insane how well he's able to speak. Like, it is really great, and I love that. The thing is, yes, people like us do things like this. People like skaters, they do things like wearing skating shoes or skating outfits, or they speak a certain language. People like us do things like this. which really makes sense, if you think about it. Certain groups do just communicate in a certain way, wear certain things, do certain things, period. Give up defining yourself to yourself or to others. You won't die. You will come to life. I am just me. Period. I am not an athlete, which is also a description of one. I am me. I do things that I do. Which, this is, I think, the great thing. Even though quite often I really do not want to record. I do not want to go through those summaries and whatnot. But once I start to go through them, because I have to, go through them anyway, even though I actually do not want to do it, I most often come to the conclusion that it's been worthwhile, and that I'm actually quite happy about the fact that I started, because I'm learning quite a ton of things, and I'm able to think about a ton of things that I, at this point of time, really enjoy thinking about, and also really feel like having to think about. Like happiness, also roles. What role do I play? What purpose do I have? And so on and so forth. So I think it is indeed quite a good book and quite an interesting one, even though it is tremendously similar to Anthony de Mello's Awareness. But maybe, I don't know. Stress. When you want to arrive at your goal more than you want to be doing what you're doing, you become stressed. The balance between enjoyment and structural tension is lost, and the latter has won. When there is stress, it is usually a sign that the ego has returned and you are cutting yourself off from the creative power of the universe. When you want to arrive at your goal more than you want to be doing what you're doing, you become stressed. It's quite indeed. If I think about those, it's actually quite funny. Those moments in which I am the most stressed, as I am thinking back, actually, especially the last, I would say 2 years, was always when I had, and still, I just think in that way, when I had the honor to work with a client of mine on some design project, but it always stressed me out so much, every single time. I don't necessarily know why, probably because, when you're, I don't want to call myself a freelancer, but when you're doing work that is quite similar to a freelancer, then you most often work quite always. It's going to be a full day of whoever knows when you're going to work. Of course, I could schedule that. Of course, I could say, okay, these are my work hours. In these times I'm going to work, and afterwards I'm not going to do anything. Period. No matter what you say, no matter what you want to do for me, no matter what new thing you have for me, I'm not going to work then. Which would actually be quite smart, because one also has to think about the quality of the work that one is doing, and I don't necessarily know. It's not about thinking that, it's not about being sure. I don't really know if my work is that great when I'm stressed out and actually do not really feel like doing work, but in the sense of, okay, I'm just done with it. I've done enough today. I just can't anymore. But most often I just get into a place of just really, really, really being close to just getting insane, actually, which is a fucked up place to be in, to be honest. And I still have to kind of figure out how to deal with that, but I do not think about the design work then. I do not enjoy the design work then, because I always think about like the goal and me just finishing this project. So it is quite the truth. When you want to arrive at your goal more than you want to be doing what you're doing, you become stressed. Which kind of makes sense, because you don't want to do what you're doing, but you want to get to this goal as fast as you just possibly can, because you do not like what you're doing at this time, which just makes sense that you then get stressed out and unhappy and feel bad. Anyway, stress always diminishes both the quality and effectiveness of what you do under its influence. There is also a strong link between stress and negative emotions such as anxiety and anger. It is toxic to the body and is now becoming recognized as one of the main causes of the so-called degenerative diseases such as cancer and heart disease. Unlike stress, enthusiasm has a higher energy frequency and so resonates with the creative power of the universe. Interesting enough. And as funny as I think it is, like, it is amazing how much power and how much energy we can build and have, the amount of energy we can have. It is insane. When you're enthusiastic about something, the amount of time, the amount of energy, the amount of work, power, whatever you want to call it, that you can put into something that you really enjoy doing is insane. Thinking about a podcast, there's the tremendous amount of hours that I put into it. Like, it is quite an insane thing. But still, it does no ways feel like work. Sometimes it does, on those days where I just really, really, really do not want to do it. And it also really heavily depends on what I'm doing. I think with book summaries, things are just better because I'm also learning something, and I always feel like that it is worthwhile my time. That I'm also producing something that maybe people are going to like and people are going to enjoy having, which makes the overall experience way better for me. And I think just also way better for the person that consumes it then. Whether I'm seeing those great numbers or not doesn't matter too much. Anyway, happiness and unhappiness. The primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. Be aware of the thoughts you're thinking, separate them from the situation, which is always neutral, which always is as it is. There is the situation or the fact, and there are my thoughts about it. Instead of making up stories, stay with the facts. Which, is very easily said, but we like stories. We love stories, and we're always going to tell ourselves stories. But I do understand the whole point, which is there's always a moment, there's always a time between the situation or whatever is happening at the time and my response or your response. We always choose our response. There's always time. There's no way that there's no time. Never ever. Even if it might be a millisecond, it is still time. I do understand the whole thing that when somebody dies, you're gonna cry and whatnot and blee blah bloop and however, but you still choose to do so. There is still some time to decide what you're gonna do. Okay, I have lost $100. Now I have some time to think about my response to that, and then I have a certain collection of responses. Maybe you get angry, maybe you get sad, maybe you're gonna scream around, maybe you're gonna hurt yourself. Whatever the fuck you're doing, you choose to do so. This is your response, it is my response. And this is as well something that Anthony DeMello in his book Awareness was talking about, and also often describing and underlining, and I think it is tremendous. It really is. It is a tremendous thing to know, to think about, and also to keep in mind, because it is the case. We always choose how to feel. Period. At least as far as, well, I would say maybe psychology goes. Certainly there are some chemical responses in your body that lead you to having emotions. We are still a body, or we still have a body, even though also awareness as well as a new earth. Maybe, I'm not quite sure about a new earth, but awareness was heavily as well emphasizing the fact that your body is your body and your mind is your mind and you are you. Which I am not quite sure, according to today's science, whether this is quite the truth. Since, as I said, there's probably going to be some biochemical reasons why we love somebody. I don't know if it is still just a mind-made thing, that we come up with it and then our body responds, or our body responds and then we come to the conclusion. That it really depends on what is faster, I think. Yes. Blah, blah, blah. Don't seek happiness. If you seek it, you won't find it, because seeking it is the antithesis of happiness. Happiness is ever elusive, but freedom from unhappiness is attainable now. By facing what is rather than making up stories about it, unhappiness covers up your natural state of well-being and inner peace, the source of true happiness. Unhappiness is an ego-created mental emotional disease that has reached epidemic proportions. It is the inner equivalent of the environmental pollution of our planet. Unhappiness or negativity is a disease on our planet. What pollution is on the other level is negativity on the inner. It is everywhere, not just in places where people don't have enough, but even more so where they have more than enough. Is that surprising? No. The affluent world is even more deeply identified with form, more lost in content, more trapped in ego. There are other, more suitable forms of negativity that are so common, they are usually not recognized as such. For example, impatience, irritation, nervousness, and being fed up. They constitute the background unhappiness that is many people's predominant inner state, which is an unfortunate thing, but still the thing. Emotion itself is not unhappiness, only emotion plus an unhappy story is unhappiness. She looked puzzled briefly, and after a minute or so of sitting silently, I suddenly noticed a significant shift in her energy field. She said, "This is weird. I am still unhappy, but now there is space around it. It seems to matter less. This was the first time I heard somebody put it like that. There is space around my happiness." That space, of course, comes when there is inner acceptance of whatever you're experiencing in the present moment. Not all unhappiness is of the pain body. Some of it is new unhappiness created whenever you are out of alignment with the present moment. When the now is denied in one way or another, when you recognize that the present moment is always already the case and therefore inevitable, you can bring an upcoming inner yes to it, and so not only create no further unhappiness, but with inner resistance gone, find yourself empowered by life itself. But nothing can satisfy the ego for long as it runs your life. There are two ways of being unhappy. Not getting what you want is one, and getting what you want is the other. That is a fucked up thing, but yes. People believe themselves to be dependent on what happens for their happiness. This is to say dependent on form. They don't realize that what happens in the most unstable thing in the universe. It changes constantly. They look upon the present moments as either merit by something that has happened and shouldn't have, or as deficient because of something that has not happened but should have. And so they miss the deeper perfection that is inherent in life itself, a perfection that is always already there, that lies beyond what is happening or not happening, beyond form. Accept the present moment and find the perfection that is deeper than any form and untouched by time. The joy of being, which is the only true happiness, cannot come to you through any form, possession, achievement, person, or event, through anything that happens. That joy cannot come to you ever. It emanates from form, the formless dimension within you. I'm gonna go on with it the next time. I clearly noticed that I'm just rushing through it, and this is not what I should do with this book. And so I'm going to see you the next time. Bye bye.